Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chella and this is Chella Reads a Bit. Today we're going to be doing part 2 of an attempt for romance. And since I did the first one, which was Radiance by Grace Draven, I've been a little more hesitant because that one didn't go as well as I wanted to. But hopefully this time it'll go a little bit better. And if you do enjoy these videos, please feel free to like and subscribe. I would love to have you here, but no pressure or anything. Today's is going to be From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So I am a bit scared of this one because 1, it's really big, and 2, this is more of something that I don't know if I'm gonna like, especially since like sometimes from what I've read, these kinds of characters might not be my favorite. But so I've heard mixed things. So either people really love it or are really about it and they love anything Jennifer L. Armentrout comes out with, or people really dislike it and think that it's not the best written. I know Elias read them and he did not like them and he thought that they were not good, and I thought it was funny watching him talk about them. So I was like, you know what, let me give it a go. I want to see what it's all about and see if I agree with him, or if maybe for some reason I am in the group that kind of enjoyed it. So how I came to be with this book, I did not pay for this book. I would not have paid for this book, but my sister was getting rid of it. Surprisingly, she had it, and I was like, you know what, I'll try it out. So I took it, and I mean, it all worked out. I'm going to be using it for this video and seeing how I feel about it. All I know about this book is that it's about Poppy, who's a maiden, and which is like a part of this like religious, I think it's kind of religious, I have really no clue, I haven't read it yet, but I know that she can't be seen, she can't be touched or anything like that, and the maidens are moving towards this ascension. I don't quite know what that means or what it entails, but all I know is that she is a part of this and she has a bodyguard, and there might be a romance between the two of them. I think that the plot is like things start to unravel, that like what she thought she knew might not be exactly what it is. So that's pretty much the vague thing that I know of it. Even though I did watch spoilery stuff, I cannot for the life of me remember exactly what it's about. But, and just disclaimer, this will be spoilery, so be forewarned. If you don't want to be spoiled, don't continue watching. But if you don't care or you've read it, I hope that you enjoy my thoughts on it, and just hopefully they aren't I don't hate it. I'm really nervous about reading this, especially since it's so big. I might section it off and try to read a certain amount each day, and I'll update you guys as I go. Hopefully it won't be like last time where I have the same thoughts, because this is a big book. So hopefully I enjoy it, and hopefully this doesn't end up being horrible. And I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll come back to you with any updates that I have once I start reading it. I'll see you then. So I did start the book. I'm only to page 44. I'm slogging through this beginning part because it's a lot of just like getting to know the character. Found out some more than I did going into it. What her real name is, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But Poppy is a maiden. She's scarred is what I'm gathering. She's the maiden and she was the chosen one. Surprise. The reason I'm popping in now is because I just got to the part where she's at, well, she's been at since the beginning. She's been at the Red Pearl, but she was sent up to the room by the lady who figured out that she was the maiden. And of course there's someone in there, and of course it's someone she knows. And my problem here is that the guy thinks that she's someone else. Like obviously she has like a mask on, she has a hood on, but she knows this person, and so he's thinking it's someone else, and she doesn't say anything because she doesn't want to give herself away. Like, I get it, but she knows his intention of what's happening right now, and she just lets it happen. I'm like, what do you think is gonna happen when he finds out? If he kisses you or whatever, like, he's gonna figure out that it's not you, my guy. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? You might as well have just said something before this point instead of it being even worse than it could have been. So of course, like, what I don't believe is that because he's expecting this other person, like, he knows who the other person would be, so he's obviously at least felt the other person. So how would you think that this person feels the same? Like, she even mentions who she thinks he was waiting for, and that she is smaller than her and everything. So why would you not notice when you pick her up that this is not the same person? But then you're kissing her, and then you realize this is not the right person. So that I don't get it. But I can try to look past it, kind of. But my problem is that she let she could have saved herself all this, like, this trouble if she would have just, like, she just lets it happen. Like, she just lets him kiss her, knowing full and damn well that, one, she's probably not supposed to be doing this. Two, he's gonna find out, and it's not gonna be great. I'm literally at the part where he is like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I mean, it took you this long, my guy, to actually question this. And I just think it's weird that she even let this transpire. Like, I think she could have just not. Like, I just think it's kind of stupid. Because what were you going to gain once he is kissing you and finds out that you're not the person he's meant to be kissing? He's going to find out regardless. Like, this didn't need to happen. And I think it's a little gross. But that's just my personal opinion. It might not be like that for other people, and that's fine. But for me, I'm not about it. Like, it's kind of icky. Icky to me. But it's a lot of information. It was a little hard to, like, get into the writing for a second, but that's it for now. Like, it's fine. I just think it's, like, the chosen one. She doesn't really know what... It's just a lot of stuff that is apparently, like, things aren't as they seem. But, again, I'm only 44 pages in, so who am I to talk? Let's continue.
Everybody fall down once. Yeah, every logo fall down once. Yeah, everybody fall down once. Yeah, every logo fall down once. Hold it when it come. It ain't gonna stay when it drop.
Okay. Update time. Sorry for the fan. It might be a bit loud, but right now the video I just edited is exporting, so. And it's the one that's kind of like this one, but it's the first one, so. Sorry about that. But I have, like, sectioned the book off to finish in 4 days. So I did finish yesterday's section. And the last time I talked to you was when we were on page, like, 60 or 60 something. And Jennifer L. Armstrong wants to come in with, you know, the stereotypical cliche. I let out the breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Always a fun time, isn't it? No, not really. Okay. Anywho, so since then, I got a bit farther. I have it sectioned that I read about 150, 160 something pages a day, so I can finish it within 4 days. So I got to page 166, and that's to chapter 10, so I finished chapter 9. So all that's really happened is, so you find out that she has this ability where she can sense people's pain, and she can also sense if it's, like, physical or emotional, and that, I mean, that's cool. And about, like, her being scared about going to, like, going through the ascension, she doesn't know if she wants to go through with it, so that's why she's at the red pearl. Is like she's wanting to live is what she first says, and then she realizes maybe it's because she doesn't want to be worthy. And then of course the whole thing with a Hawk happens where she realizes Victor, her guard, who is kind of like a father figure to her, is there. So the lady tells her to go up to the room, and it's supposed to be empty, supposedly, but Hawk is there, but Hawk doesn't know it's her. She knows it's him, and like I was saying, how she just let him kiss her instead of just letting him stop. Like, it's telling him that who it was, or, like, getting him to stop. And then finally, there's no option. He still didn't know who she was because she wouldn't tell him, but he kept being like, why didn't you stop me? And she just wouldn't answer the question. So the whole interaction was kind of weird to me. I find it a little weird that she would do that. Like, I get that you're a maiden and like this stuff is like new to you and whatever, but it just was really weird. He ends up having to go because something happens, and she promises him she'll stay there, but it's just weird because they were close to having sex because she figured that she would just do it because she didn't care if she was unworthy, whatever. She goes back. Stuff kind of starts happening from there. You learn about the Cravens, which are, if an Atlantean bites somebody, they turn into like this kind of like werewolf kind of thing, but not a werewolf. I don't even know how to explain it. They're called like the Cursed. There's like this whole thing where her and Victor are actually, they go behind like the Duchess and Duke's back, and they give them more of a respectful way of going instead of how they usually do with these people, where they just take them into the middle of the city or like the square and burn them. So I mean, that was nice. And then you find out that she can take people's pain or make them feel better, so that's what she does, which, you know, I mean, I kind of figured that was going to be the case, but you know, it is what it is. It's kind of hard to even remember what I read yesterday. It's kind of forgettable. Like, it's not bad, like I'm going through it and getting through it quite kind of easily, more easy than Radiant. I just feel like it's a little tropey and cliche a lot of the time, and I like the way she feels about Hawk immediately. Like, I'm like, come on girl, you don't even know this guy. You know he was there to see someone else, and you know he's fucking around with someone else, and yet whatever. And of course, some lady in wait was killed. That's when they figure, her and Victor figure that it's an Atlantean, but the Duke is saying that it's a dissenter, which is the people who believe that the true ruler is the prince, who they call the Dark One, who was an Atlantean because there was like the Two Kings War or whatever. It's people who believe that he's the true ruler, so they're called dissenters. But Poppy and Victor are like, it clearly wasn't a dissenter. Like, the wounds that she had didn't make any sense. So it's like obviously an Atlantean, and they would know that. And so then they find out that the Duke and Duchess do know that it's an Atlantean, but they just don't want to cause panic, which I guess to a point. But I mean, so that person, like, there's a lady in wait who dies. Then she has a guard. So there's Victor, and then there's Rylan. And Rylan would go with her to her walk at dusk or whatever, to the garden. Seems to be a theme with these books. And like at that time when the sun sets, these roses bloom. So unfortunately, Rylan ends up getting killed, and I kind of was like, wow, like, that was kind of not unexpected, but I was like, I didn't want that to happen. I kind of liked him. But so that happens, and so now, of course, the only logical next step is, it hasn't happened yet, but I'm predicting, because especially since it says on the back, but obviously Hawk is going to become her bodyguard. I didn't even have to, technically I could have figured that out even without reading the back. It's just predictable in some parts. Some parts I'm like, that's interesting, but a lot of the time what she talks about in her head is very repetitive sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You've kind of said this to yourself like numerous times. And I get that, like, sometimes your inner dialogue, even for me, is like really repetitive, but it's a lot of her not wanting to really, she's scared of the ascension. She doesn't know if she even wants to be found worthy. And I'm obviously finding issues with the Ascended. Like, something obviously is not right with the Ascended, and I'm kind of confused on how that even works. And the whole God talk and everything, kind of like, I did not like the part that had just happened where people come to talk to the Duke and Duchess and stuff, and like this couple with a newborn baby come because the second and third child, they're supposed to be given to the gods to ascend or something. I don't know exactly. It's all confusing. And this couple this is their third child, but they lost the first one to a blood sickness, and then the second one died a bit after that, like a year or so after that, to the same thing. So this is their third, and she can't have another kid or she'll die. So they're begging the Duke and Duchess to not, like, to talk to the gods to see if it's okay if their baby can be excused from the right to be given to the gods. But of course the Duke and Duchess don't allow that because they think it's like a waste of time to take away a perfectly good child for the gods. And I'm like, come on, that's so gross. And Poppy even says in her head, like, why you made an exception for my brother to be ascended because he wouldn't have gone through it, but you won't spare the time to talk to the gods about this. Like, because there's so many people who are going to be going through the rite, like, I don't think one kid is going to really make a difference. But the Duke and Duchess are like, no. It's kind of gross, but I like the dynamic between her and Victor, because it's kind of like a father figure to her, because she did lose both of her parents. I'm already kind of not enjoying the love interest. Like, Poppy can kind of be annoying. I don't really care for the love interest either. So let's see how that goes when things happen. I think it's like happening too quick too. I'm afraid it's insta-love, and I don't do well with insta-love, but it's not too bad right now. I'm not hating it right now. Hopefully it continues on that path, but I'll update you when I get to the next stopping point, which would be page 320. So I just need to read to here, and I'll update you then. So it's been a minute since I updated. It's been a day since I've read the section that I read. I don't quite remember now. It's just a lot of course, Hawk becoming her bodyguard. Even without the thing on the back, you would have known that. Just repetitive thoughts from Poppy. Her doing stupid shit. The insta-love. Hawk just being Hawk. I'm not buying it. I mean, it's going fast, but it's fine. I don't hate it. I'm getting through it pretty quick, but it's just like really repetitive. The things that are happening are kind of not cliche, but overdone. I think that just things are very predictable, and I don't really care for Poppy and Hawk. Poppy's a bit annoying, and Hawk is too much sometimes. And them together is like, I don't get it. But I did take a day off of reading it, and because I've just been reading this, so. But today I'll try to read some more. But I am not getting the hype. It's just very predictable, very repetitive. It feels like the same thought is going through her head every 2 seconds, and like I'm being repeatedly told about how she feels about Hawk, and like before he was even her guard, like how she was upset if he was gonna be her new personal guard. It was just like stupid. I didn't care for it. She was just upset, even though she put herself in this situation in the first place. And the way she just says the same thing in her monologue, whatever you want to call it, is just so repetitive. It's fine. Hopefully I can finish it in the next 2 days or so. Hopefully maybe the ending will surprise me. But I mean, it's not bad per se. I don't believe the chemistry between the two, like between Poppy and Hawk, I don't buy into it. And I think the villainous kind of thing is kind of like confusing and weird. I mean, it's fine. I'm getting through it fast, so can't really complain too much, but it is what it is. It's fine. And I'll update you next time. So it's been, I think, a day since I last updated. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, so I just wanted to spend time with my boyfriend and, do Valentine's Day stuff, We actually do, which we just picked up food and then just laid in bed together watching Naruto. Because we are watching through Naruto Shippuden. This is irrelevant to, like, the book or anything, but, I had already started it, Naruto Shippuden, like 5 million times and got to a certain point. And then I would always, like, stop watching. One, because I'm just really bad at continuing shows, even though Naruto is one of my favorite anime of all time. I think it was the first anime that I ever watched, the original, but now I'm watching Shippuden. Then also there's events that happen that just crush my soul, and then someone gets stupid in the show, and I'm like, so I just stop. And my heart just can't take it, so I just stop watching it for a long time, and then I have to restart it. So this is like my 4th or 5th time getting to this point that we are now. We spent all day pretty much watching Naruto, and it was great. It was a great Valentine's Day. But other than that, I did not read this book yesterday. I did read my other book that I'm reading, which is City of Bones, because I got to the marker for that I wanted to get to do an update, so I was like, I'm just not gonna read this. So I've taken like a day. I mean, it's the 2nd time I've taken a day off, but it doesn't either here nor there. But we're here now. With this, I did do an update for the last one, and it kind of sound weird because we're trying this thing where my boyfriend will sit with like noise canceling headphones in the room. It's still so awkward, so I probably sound weird, but that's why. But he is not here right now, so that's why I'm doing it today now. This book. Now I'm to page 480. Stuff has happened. I think the last time I talked to you, I'm pretty sure was getting close to the right, which she's allowed to go to this time and everything. And within what I've read to this point, it's just been a lot of like the same thought process about how she feels about Hawk, and it's just her being in Poppy's head is like so repetitive. Sometimes I can't stand her. I don't buy into the romance, unfortunately, because it just seems so convenient and so fast. I can see why people might enjoy it and might like Hawk, but I just don't like their dynamic together, and I can't stand being in Poppy's head. Like sometimes like I'm finding that I'm flying through it, right? But then I have to like be like, am I enjoying it? And then I'm like, I don't think I am, because just the way that it's written is so repetitive, and like how she's thinking and what's happening is like so repetitive. Like even just the scene with the right, which we knew was gonna go to shit, like obviously she set it up where the Duke isn't there yet, and he's like, they don't know why, and he's supposed to be at the right. Like that's weird that he's not there. I mean, the Duke is an asshole, so I really don't care. So he's not there. So in my head I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? Like I already knew what was gonna be the case. And then of course when she comes back from her time with Hawk under the willow, of course the Duke is dead, hanging from the ceiling or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Okay. And then the whole stuff with the all hell breaks loose, and her doing this twice. Like the first time fine, but she runs from the person who's trying to like protect her to go protect Tawny. Well, she runs, I think it was Victor the first time, so she went to go get Tawny or someone, or I forget, some for shit. And okay, fine, whatever, you want to go save them. Then she does it a second time where someone's like, we need to get you out of here, and she just quickly runs away to go protect them. Like, I get what you're trying to do, but I don't need to see you do it twice. Like, you lost the effect of what you were going for. Like, I don't care at this point. But that is, and then them taking them to that room with the Duchess, it was so predictable. I'm sorry, it was just so predictable. And I can already tell that there's something with Hawk, that she's just being naive and ignorant and not questioning Hawk. And like I can tell that there's something that he's hiding. Like it's apparent. Like she can even sometimes sense his emotions, and sometimes it's emotions she doesn't understand why he's having them. Clearly I can tell that there's something with Hawk, especially with his like interaction that he had with Kieran. Clearly he Yeah. Sure. So I don't really care for Poppy, and I don't care for Hawk, and I don't care for them being together. It's fast to get through. Like, I find myself just getting through it, but then I'm not actually enjoying what I'm reading. And Victor died for what? Just so she can have this, like, inner turmoil and kill Lord Mazine, which was great. He's a dick too. Horrible guy. Things happen like too many times. They're way too repetitive, and I don't know. I think it didn't need to be this long. Like, I still have the last bit to go. I want them to get to the point. And, like, the amount of times I have to hear her talk about how she wants to be found unworthy, and the ascension this, and blah, 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 blah. It's just so repetitive. I just can't. I'm sorry. Like, it's fine. I can understand why some people might like it, but I just don't buy into it. I don't know what it is. I'm just not buying into these romances. It's all about, like, looks. I don't want to hear Hawk described for another fucking time. Like, I don't care. I don't want to know. And I got to the part where he said that if he tasted her, he believed she would taste like honeydew. My guy. No, she fucking wouldn't. Not unless she just slid honeydew all over herself. She's not gonna taste like honeydew. Come on. Jennifer L. Armentrout, I don't know what you're sipping, but honeydew? I don't get it. But I'll probably finish it either today or tomorrow and give my wrap-up thoughts. And probably have to sit down and do my call pile rating once I'm done to figure out what the rating will be. I don't believe it's gonna be above a 3. Yeah, it's fast and easy to get through, but I don't find myself wanting to pick it up. I find it way too repetitive, just like I'm being. I find the relationships kind of forced, and just like with Radiance, I feel like it's just written so conveniently for them to get together. And I understand that's how books are, but just way too convenient. Like, he immediately thinks that she's beautiful, like, which is great, which is fine. But, like, they talk about how they feel like they've known each other for a long time, and maybe that's a thing, but maybe I don't know. But it just is so convenient. I don't believe it. It's too quick. Everything just feels off about it, and she flip-flops way too much for me, and I get it's probably accurate to, like, having to go through something like that, but in a book that's so long, I don't want to just like with the Court of Silver Flames, it was just, like, so cyclical. Like, you would just keep going around and around and around and around with the same thing, and it starts to grate on your nerves, and that's what it feels like right now with this. I just want it to be done, and I want to understand what the purpose of all this is. It's not the romance for me. It's also very cliche. Her falling in love with her guard, which is fun, but I think I'd have to, like, really care about the book and the characters to be all for that, like, trope. Like, I don't mind it, but I just don't like these characters. I liked Victor to a point. Rylan was only in it for a bit, but I liked him. He was sweet. Tawny is a good character. The next time I'll be talking is once I finished it, put it through call pile, and give you my wrapped up thoughts on this book. And hopefully it doesn't take me forever, and then once I'm done with this, I can move on to the last one, hopefully. But I'll catch you once I'm finished. I am back sitting down here because I finally finished From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So these are gonna be my wrap-up thoughts with whatever I read at the end and everything like that. So from where I had updated before, my thoughts still stand on the relationship. But from what happened after that point, first off, the honeydew thing came up again. He said that she tasted like honeydew. Oh, honey, boo-boo, no, no, no. I don't know who Jennifer L. Armentrout thinks tastes like honeydew down there. I don't know why. It's so unrealistic. So that kind of pissed me off. What happened was that she's been told by the Duchess that she has to go back to the capital to be with the Queen and the King because it's too unsafe where she is right now with the Duchess. So only a small group of people can go with her to the capital. So they end up in this little village, and it just seems, something seems a bit off. Like, even she feels like it's a little off. And I'm like, okay, there's like obvious things to me that are happening that I think has been apparent since, like, in the beginning of the book. So Hawke already was a red flag to me. I already knew from the jump that something was different about him. Something was off. She chose to ignore all that. Not surprising. Then she realizes that there's no royals, there's no ascended in this village, and she thinks that that's odd, but she just, you know, she looks past it. And then it comes to a head where Phillips, who is a guard that she had met in the beginning of the book at the Red Pearl, comes into the room after her and Hawke had their little fun times together, where she points out that he has sharp teeth. There's been glaring things that have come up in the book about Hawke that she just dismisses. She even mentions how weirdly sharp that his teeth are, and it just glosses over it. I'm like, okay, clearly this is showing that there's something off with him. From the jump, I knew that something was off, and in my head I'm like, he's probably going to be the prince, the dark one as they call him. Like, it was already in my mind from like really far back, like when it was brought up. Like, as you get to know Hawke, I'm like, okay, there's obviously something off with him. I don't trust him. He clearly is like keeping something to himself. And I just thought it was apparent that he was an Atlantean, because I'm like, he's really fast. He's not ascended. So it only makes sense for him to be an Atlantean. But, you know, that was just my only what I was seeing. And then when it came to that mention of his teeth, I'm like, oh my god, it's so apparent. And then when Phillips is like, comes into her room and he's like, something's really off, like, I don't trust this, like, we don't even really know who Kieran is, because Kieran is from the beginning of the book too, where he like knocks on the door that Poppy and Hawke are behind at the Red Pearl. And so that was the first time that you meet him. Then you meet him again when he's part of the group that's taking her to the capital. So Phillips is like, we don't really know who he is. He just showed up at the Rise and said that he was from the capital and everything, and that he was recommended by Hawke. And like, how weird it is that Hawke just showed up. He was a transfer from the capital and then managed to be so well known in such a short amount of time and end up being her personal royal guard. He's like, everything just seems off. There's no ascended here. There can't even find the royals. Why no ascended would go hunting? And she even had that thought, but then she's like, nah, you know, it's just blah, blah, blah. She just like lets it go because she just doesn't want, I don't know. So then it comes down to the whole Kieran Hawke thing, and she's like, well, I don't really know Kieran, but Hawke likes him, so I trust him. And I'm like, screw you, because that is the stupidest logic that I've ever heard. You don't just trust somebody because someone you barely even know and you trust them. That's not how it works. You need to have your own sense of self-preservation and have to figure out if you trust them based on you, yourself, not someone else. So that pissed me off, because it's like, you barely even know Hawke, my guy. Like, you've known him for like all of how long, and there's a lot of red flags, there's a lot of, you know, things that are going on that you don't understand about Hawke, and that yet you blindly trust him because he has a pretty face, he says pretty words. Like, I get that it's like you're trying to set up this connection with these two characters, but I'm sorry, I don't buy it, I don't believe it. Just miss me with that bullshit. So that, she says that, and I start to get pissed off. I'm like, I'm really getting sick of this fucking book. I'm about to throw it across the room. And then in her head, she's like, Phillips has to be a dissenter, because That's the only logical explanation. God forbid it's Hawk who's the problem, who's fault or who's bad in this moment. It has to be Phillips. Phillips is the dissenter. He's gonna try to kill me. That's where I was done. I'm like, fuck you, Poppy, because this is the stupidest logic I've ever heard. You clearly know nothing. It pissed me off just because of what? What is your reasoning? What is the actual reasoning for why you trust Hawk? He seems to always not be there when things are going down, so clearly there's something off. So as the thing goes, it comes out that Kieran is a Wolven and Hawk isn't even Hawk. Hawk is an Atlantean, like I fucking predicted from the jump. And then, so she feels betrayed, of course. But then, so all this happens, she gets hurt, they lock her up in a cell. It comes out that, of course, the whole thing, the Ascended, I figured it out from the jump, too, that there's something wrong with the Ascended. The idea of it is not good. They're vampires, or I don't know how they pronounce it, pretty much vampires. And that they use Atlantean blood to make themselves vampires, and it's actually the Ascended who are making these cravens. So, but they have to have an Atlantean in order to turn these people, to ascend these people, and make them into these vampires who can't go out in the sun. So, Hawk was one of the people that they had, that they were using the blood to make these people. And he ended up getting out because someone saved him, but then that person is now being kept by the Queen and King. So Hawk was going to use her in order to barter for that person's release. Okay. So she clearly is now upset. She's now angry at Hawk. It's a long time coming, my guy. And then she's hurt, he heals, he makes her heal and blah blah. Then people try to kill her, and then he makes her drink his blood. She is upset at him, but yet she keeps having these, like, sexual arousal feelings towards him, like, whatever. And then it comes out, he starts telling her all the truth behind what the Ascended are, what actually happened to the Atlanteans, and the real history. She doesn't want to believe it. Of course not. She's so quick to just trust anything and, like, not wanting to question it. So stuff ends up happening, and then they end up having sex again. She stabs him in the heart, and then they end up having sex after that. And I'm like, I don't understand you people, but that is definitely not, he feeds from her or whatever. It's stupid. I was pretty much skimming at this point because I was just so pissed off. Like, being in Poppy's head, I can't. Me and Poppy don't mesh together. Her whole reasoning is flawed. She's very contradictory. She's hypocritical. It's just stupid. Then she keeps thinking that what they had wasn't real. Like, he was just using her, which he technically was. But obviously, for the sake of the book, he did have feelings for her, and not everything he did was, like, not real. Like, I get it, Jennifer L. Armentrout, I know what you're trying to do, but he did fuck her over. Like, but she also fucked herself over because she didn't stop to, like, think things through, you know? Not be so naive and quick to just want, like, I understand her need and want to live and for someone to, like, care about her and, like, not feel like a pawn in the game that's happening in this book. But that doesn't mean you can just forget that people can be scummy and that you need to take care of yourself and question things that don't make any sense. Don't be blind. Don't just rush into things and just think, they can't possibly hurt me because they're treating me this way. Okay, whatever. In the end, of course, what I assumed too as well, Hawk is not Hawk. Hawk is Castile, the prince from Atlantia. And then it comes out that, of course, Poppy is not full mortal. She's half Atlantean. And then at the end of the book, she just threw this thing in there. Like, instead of going to get his brother, who's the one that saved him and is now stuck in the castle with the Queen and the King, he's going to take Poppy back home to Atlantia. And it's to marry her. Miss me with this bullshit. I wanted to chuck this book across the room. My wrap up thoughts. This whole book as a whole is that it is too long, it is too repetitive, it makes the logic is not there, it makes no sense. It's also very, very obvious with some things that are gonna happen, and things like they're trying to make you trust, but it's apparent that they're not trustworthy. Like it was just very, as I've been saying, predictable. And being in Poppy's head is just sometimes insufferable. She tries to act like a hard person and like she knows everything and that she's so well prepared and she can take care of herself, but then when it comes down to it, that's not true. She is so naive. She just she doesn't think things through. She does the same thing over and over again and expects a different result. I don't know what you expect. And then she keeps letting herself get closer to Castile, and it's like, whatever. You do you, boo-boo. Now you're gonna end up going to Atlanta to get married. It was fine. Like, obviously, like, the beginning parts, it was easy to get through. But I just don't think that this was for me. Maybe I'll pick up the next one to see like what happens, but it's not gonna be because I'm gonna necessarily enjoy it, because I know I'm probably not. And I don't believe the romance between them two, and I feel like there's a lot that has happened that like doesn't make sense for them to be together. But you know, they will. That's just how it goes. But it just wasn't for me. I did put it through Call Pile. Came out at a 3 stars. It's fine. Like, I can see why people might like it, but I just did not. I did not enjoy it. I did not vibe with it. It was fast to get through, but that doesn't mean my enjoyment was there. It just means that it was easy to get through the words that were on the page, even though that's because a lot of it was repetitive. And it was like the same thought, just put in a different way every time. And it was just too much. I don't even have more thoughts, because this just took a lot out of me at the end. Like, I literally just started to skim because I was like, I don't even give a fuck anymore. After Poppy decides, like, after certain events with Poppy, I was like, okay, I don't care. I don't care, my guy. Whatever happens to you happens. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about you and Hawk. I don't care. Like, clearly choices were made and I don't care. I can understand and I respect if people like this, and that is on you, and I'm happy for you. Ooh, honey, I did not like this. I did not fall for it. I did not swoon. It bothered me when they ended up having sex after he bit her, and well, after she stabbed him in the heart and then he bit her. And she was angry at him already for betraying her, and then has sex with him, and I'm like, I don't understand that. That's just so gross to me. But it is what it is. It's a 3 stars. I am glad that I read it for this video, and now I know what it is that people have read, and now I have my own opinion of it. I just did not care for a lot of the characters, and I did not care for some of the things that happened. And I think it could have been shorter. This did not have to be this long. It was literally a lot of the same thing over and over again. I am glad that I'm done with it. I'm glad that I can say that I read it. Will I ever read the second one? Maybe. Down the road. In another life, maybe. Or I'll just look up what happened. Because I don't know if I have it in me to really read that whole book. But 3 stars, but I'm done with this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe if you would like. I would love to have you here. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.